Hey everybody, and welcome to another session of working on LearnBook with this Noodle Build Along series. And I've published this one today properly, actually told people about it, so I'm checking in the chat if anybody is there, or I guess I can do some YouTube live control room fancy stuff to know if anybody's watching or if we have any chat messages. So if you do have any questions, just hit me up in the chat and I will try to get to them as I go and try to keep it to about an hour and a half today. So yeah, let's have a look. Okay, so what are we doing today? So I talked to the designer. If you've been following the videos, last time I talked about that the design for the login and register part of the app was up for debate because we have some complex ways of signing people up in LearnBook, depending on if they're a teacher or if they're a training organization or if they're a learner. So that's something that we talked about, and we agreed with the designer that we'll have sort of 3 different paths. But the training organization path and the learner path will likely end with sort of saying, either for the learner saying, if you are a learner, then you can only get signed up if a teacher or an organization signs you up. So do you have a code? If you don't, if you do, enter it here. If you don't, contact your school, your training organization. If it's a training organization that's signing up, then it'll say, please fill out this contact form. We'll get back to you and we'll accompany you setting up your training organization, because it's we kind of would prefer to keep it that training organizations are demoed to the platform first, but the teachers can sign up freely with no constraints. Was one of the points we really agreed on last week. So teachers will be able to fill in the form that we started building out the last time, this one. And then they'll be able to sign up. So they'll be able to sign up on their own terms. So we're going to remove this part about, do you want to create a training organization? We'll just ask them, do you want to name your teacher account something specific, or do you want to just leave it with your name? So if it's Richard Osborne signing up, my organization, quote unquote, will just be Richard Osborne. So I will be a teacher with at least one organization, just that I won't know about it yet because I'm signing up with an independent account. So we'll not give them an opportunity to change their organization, to add users to it. They don't have the admin privileges of the organization. It's just a shell that means that they have their logo and their name somewhere on the screen, which is nice for them to have. If they are, for example, a teacher who's working for a training organization, then we would say, okay, or there will be a process at some point to say, are you interested in this platform for your training organization? Talk to your director of studies or to the director of the organization and get, fill out the contact form. We'll get in touch with them, that sort of thing. That then the training organization can sign up, and we'll put this teacher into that training organization and add the other teachers and the director of studies and admin and whoever else needs to be in that organization. I think that's the best way to go, because letting people sign up with their own orgs, you're going to end up with a lot of failed test runs. Say 80% of the people who sign up will just sort of sign up, play about for a minute and then disappear. Whereas we could catch those 20% who are actually going to take it seriously and actually accompany them, and maybe catch some of those 80% who are just mucking about. Maybe we can get some of them to actually come around with accompaniment and not just abandon the platform. So all of that to say, that's just the update from last week. And the designer's going to come back to us with some new designs for that contact form and the, how do we said it's really important that we show learners when they're here and they're clicking I'm a learner, we don't scare them away by saying you're not allowed in the platform. Like, we give them a nice welcoming screen that says, oh, hi, welcome, and here's, put your code in here. If you don't have a code, don't worry about it, just contact your teacher. Maybe a little guide on, I don't know, how to send an email or something. I don't know, just kind of imagining, but trying to be as nice as possible so that the learner doesn't say, oh, that platform you told me to go to, I tried and I didn't understand and I don't want to do it anymore. You can very easily, people don't want, the people who are using this might not be people who volunteered to use it in the learner category, that's for sure. The learners will be signed up by their teacher. So that's the teacher who's offering a training program saying, yeah, I'm going to teach you English. It's going to take 20 hours and I'm going to do half of it on this cool platform that I use. And, there'll be this apprehension, could be cool, could be not cool. I really just want to spend time with my teacher. I don't really want to be on the internet. I sit on a computer all day in my job. I don't want to then go and learn English on a computer at home. I want to switch off. So all of that to say, this category of user that is not coming here voluntarily and needs to be welcomed in a way that they feel, oh, okay, this isn't so bad, or like, oh, this is actually quite fun. And that's the idea of LearnBook. The core of LearnBook is, just because I like to repeat it to myself as well, the core of LearnBook is that the idea of being in the internet, yeah, it sucks and you're still on a computer and whatever, but then you get in and you see, oh, there's my teacher's name, William Miller, that's my teacher, that's pretty cool. And he types something and you feel like it's like your teacher sending you a message on WhatsApp. And that's really the core of LearnBook is, oh, actually, you want that moment of like, oh, I have to go on another freaking platform with a login and everything. It's so boring. And then you want them to get in here and be like, oh, it's my teacher, like have this like turn around moment, this sort of light bulb moment of like, oh, actually, oh, that's funny. And he wants me to send a video. Oh, that gives me a little bit of goosebumps, like recording myself speaking another language, but I'll give it a go. And it's not a theory, we have a version of LearnBook that already exists and that we've had hundreds of people go through the platform. So we know that this phenomenon of, oh, my teacher exists. So this is the core principle. Get the learners in. If the learners are happy, the teacher's impressed. If the teacher's impressed, the training organization is impressed. And if the training organization is impressed, they're the guys who pay the bill. So they're going to be the ones paying for the kind of, company account, as opposed to the teacher who has a permanently free account. Again, another thing we realize is that teachers tend to really want things to be free forever. And it's not in a selfish way, not like, oh, I expect it to be free. It's like, I just don't have the profit margin to pay for, I'm already paying for this tool and this tool and this tool. And I've got 50, 60, 80 euros a month going out in tools. I don't want to pay for another tool. So another core concept is that the teachers get in here for free and they can do everything for free forever. And really it's getting those teachers when they're associated with training organizations, which they very often are. That's when you want to push them to talk to their boss about getting them an organization account. And then that's where we can actually start billing for a lot of extra features we're going to give to the training organization account. Those extra features are coming soon. At the moment, we only have the teacher pages in the Figma and the sign up pages, but the designer is now going to work on the training organization interface, and that's really where we're going to offer a lot of extra value for training organizations. Anyway, that's the sales pitch. I just love talking about LearnBook sometimes. Today I thought I'll leave the sign up thing for the moment because I want to see what the designer comes back with. We had started working on this dashboard page, and I thought, I wonder, should we maybe think about, I started thinking about data classes, and so started looking at what classes I'm going to create, what fields need to be in there, what relationships these are going to have. So this is not a database diagram, this is very, very basic, but that's why I like Miro, because I can stick the database diagram right next to the screens and say, okay, what field do I need in the lesson class? Well, I need a name of the lesson. Okay, well then I can put that in here as field name, and field type is string. That's getting something started. So just, before I go in and start creating classes, I start thinking about what needs to be in there. And then also just thinking about how these things relate to each other. So I wondered if maybe it could be a good idea to just tackle this lesson creation, create a kind of prefab, so to speak, like get something already going in here, so that then when we get to the point of clicking on new course in the dashboard, we can get it to take us here already and actually go through and create a new course, and then have that new course appear in here so that we start seeing some stuff appearing in here, and then there's a little bit of a connection and data being generated, and that should get us a little bit into building the lesson class. Maybe moving on to this as well. I really like this view, this whole I've just created a lesson, let's create some sections view. It's just, for me, this is a really, really good user experience design. So I'd like to do that as well. Probably not today, but we'll see. And then other than that, I'm thinking about things that we'll talk about later, like considerations that I've never made before working with Bubble. I'm now making them working with Noodl. I'm really concerned about data. Really concerned about how to keep the data as light as possible. How to keep queries as light as possible. Before I've even laid down my first query, I'm thinking, how can I keep them as light as possible? Noodl can deal with a lot of data in the front end because there's no like crazy abstraction on top of what's happening with what Noodl is doing in data wise. So it's before, one of the issues we had with LearnBook was if I loaded up a lesson and I saw 3 sections in that lesson, each of which had 5 messages, Bubble would do this cascading query thing. It would like show the lesson, query the sections, show the sections, query the messages, show the messages. So it was a lot of data calls, and you didn't really have any control over that. You can set states and stuff like that, but it's not really the same as this. So that's kind of there was a layer on top of what the standard web app is doing that Bubble has that makes these things slow in a way that you can't get around. It's very difficult to make your data elegant in Bubble in a way that that it'll load up, especially with this many nested levels of data. Whereas in Noodle, we're using a sort of normal full stack React app. So the way that the data is saved in JSON format in the front end in the browser, it means that you can save more data, which is great. But the trade-off is that with Noodle, the data calls are slightly longer and queued. So it's like I'm talking about like the basic hosting package. So like I'm on the €30 a month package or the local one with the sort of simple backend. If I do a data call from Noodle, it's going to take 300 milliseconds, 500 milliseconds, I don't know what. Whereas with Bubble, that would have done a whole bunch of data calls. There was like a lot of web sockets, I think, working with Bubble because they had this direct connection with their database. So a lot of the data was passed through very, very quickly. It's like this open connection, just flooding data through into your front end. With Noodle, it's more like, okay, if you're going to make a call for the lesson and then a call to get the name of the section and then a call to get the number of messages, that's too many calls. It's going to be half a second. Suddenly the user's waiting 1.5 seconds to get their data. And if you do too much and you end up at like 15 seconds, then the call that you tried to do at the beginning is going to time out because it's been waiting too long. So this makes you as a developer think very quickly about, okay, how do I make this data as light and as elegant as possible? The way that it's retrieved, the way that it's stored and used, how do I make it the most elegant possible? So I'll probably stop a lot like this during the process because talking about it helps me not to make mistakes. And also just considerations like, okay, if I have a lesson built today and I've called it, super awesome intro lesson, and I actually feel like I'm going to use that lesson a lot, this will happen. When I was a language teacher, I had some go-to beginner, like start lessons. So like say it's a beginner group, I'd have the beginner super awesome start lesson. If it's an intermediate group, I'll have, you see what I mean? So I'd have like 3 or 4 lessons that I pull out very often. So what would happen in LearnBook is I would create a lesson and say, okay, I've got a new group today. It's with Jane. And with Jane, I'm going to say I want to use an existing lesson. And the existing lesson will be, single courses. And I'll go and have a look and there'll be a really nice section about starting a beginner course. And I'll copy that one and use that one instead of creating a new one. So database wise, I'm going to have a lesson called Super Awesome Beginner Lesson, master version. And then am I going to have another line in the database called copy of super awesome lesson? Which might seem like a no-brainer, but then if one teacher ends up copying that for every group that they do, I would have had maybe, say, a few new groups a month. Maybe you would have like 4 or 5 groups in cycling every month and like get a new one every month, or a new 3 or 4 every month. Then I might be doing that lesson several times a month. So by the end of the year, suddenly I have 12 times, 10 times I've done that lesson in a month. So like 12 times 10, 120 lines in the database per year, which again doesn't seem like a lot, and that's fine. It's just an example of what if I do that with lots of lessons? What if I have, go-to lessons that I copy and paste all the time, which is the case for teachers. I think they have go-to lessons that they very rarely change. They just sort of photocopy them and deploy them to their learners, because you know how it works. You know how the lesson works. You know the timings are right because you've tested it. You know that it's enjoyable. You know the parts that weren't enjoyable and you've cut them out. So there's kind of this concept of, I'm going to build my lesson to make it perfect. I'm going to launch it once. Oh, I played that video too long. They didn't understand it. The level was too high. I need to give them the transcript and whatever. And so you're going to build it once here, doing your new course, build your sections and whatever. And then you're probably going to edit that a bit next time. It doesn't mean to edit the one you've already done, but it does mean that the edits you've done are part of a process of perfecting the lesson. So the first is like the prototype. Let's say I've got my lesson V1 in the database, and then I copy it into a new group and I make changes to it because I know that this video was too long. Like I said, I need the transcript, and so I upload the transcript. Or say in the lesson, the V1 I deployed, I actually added the transcript in the class because I realized that it was missing. Then that would be something that I would want to carry over when I copy it into the next lesson. Or like I said, I would want to copy the one that didn't work out and modify it before I deploy it to my group. So all of this to say, then the third time I do it, maybe there's another modification. And so I'll have like a V1, V2, V3 of this lesson. So when we are trying to create a lesson and copying from an existing lesson, the question is, do we do some system where you add everything is duplicated and you have a sort of link to the original course, or you kind of associate the old lesson with a kind of shell of a new one, but have all the things from the old lesson referenced in the new one. So you don't duplicate a lesson plus all the sections plus all the messages. That's the other problem. If I have this lesson that I've duplicated 120 times over the year, because that's how many times I've used it, if there's 4 sections, then I've got 480 sections all of a sudden that have been duplicated. And if each one of those sections had 2 messages, then I've got 960 messages in my database. So one user has amassed over 1,000 lines of data just for one lesson that they've repeated 10 times because it was their beginner lesson, if that makes sense. So I don't think I have an answer to this today, and I think the best thing to do would be to just do the pure lesson creation for the moment, get to the point where we have a created lesson, to then come back and think about, okay, well, what if now we're going to do copying an existing course? Maybe this part, really leave it to the side development wise for the moment, put it in there but the button doesn't work, and just really focus on this part to start a new lesson. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. In terms of parts that we need to create, so it seems like the designer's idea is that there's a top bar, and it's something we're missing actually at the moment. I had done this as left group top left is going to be the icon, right group top right is going to be the user stuff. But actually, if you look at it, it was a mistake. If you look at it when you go into creating courses, it's the exact same bar, but fixed and like a horizontal fixed position bar. So I'm going to create a top bar, And then we're going to do this as a, do we do it as a page? Is it the create a course page? Or is it the course page and this is a sub part of the page? Because in the end, what we're going to do is we're going to end up here. So this is a page. This is the course page. This would be course/unique ID of this lesson. And then afterwards we pop, the section component and have a look at what's inside the different sections and messages and things like that. So the course page is definitely a page for sure. Is the create a course page a page of itself, in and of itself? Well, if you click on return, where does it go? Probably, we can have a look at our document. Return doesn't say. Okay, we don't know where it goes. Not yet anyway. Okay, question to be asked. Or maybe return is like that kind of return in the process, because we have how many steps here? So there's one, let's say just in the new course one. So we've got one step is choose which kind of course you want to make, or how do you want to make it. Then name it. Next, skip this part because we're not doing the existing lesson. And then it says choose, so we can choose learners or groups that we want to assign to that lesson that we're creating. And then we know who we're going to assign it to. Then we give it the description, image, advanced. If we want to give it prerequisites, it's an online course, or it's a face-to-face course, or this is the beginning of the lesson, end of the lesson. These are optional advanced features. So there are actually quite a lot of pages here. So I would feel like, gut feeling is that that's a page. Create a course is a page. But then my gut is also telling me, but that's the same left menu. Why not just create a component that goes here in the middle? Because you're not going to go from here back to creating a course. Where are you? If you do the menu, where does that go? Number 6. If you click the menu, it goes here. Yeah, so if we click a menu on a lesson, sorry, I keep calling it a course, a lesson, we can modify it, we can duplicate it. So maybe if we click modify, that goes back to the info screen here and lets us modify the existing data and then publish it again. Will it go back to modifying the learners as well? And the name of the lesson, does it go right back to the beginning? Does it go here and say, you called this les bases de la couleur, do you want to change that? Because you would need to change the name, wouldn't you? Because here we don't have that option to change the name. So, I mean, why have this page as well? Why page? Why not have the change the name here and then all this personalization and stuff? The reason is because we agreed in the conception of the project that given that a lot of the users using this platform will have not very much technical experience, we should give them this UX concept of give them just the information they need at that moment and then let them page through to see new information. Don't show them a big giant list of information. Like if this was like, the name, the learner, and I can like click the name to edit it. I can click the learner and add new ones. I can personalize. Like it's handy for somebody who knows the tool, but maybe not very nice for somebody who doesn't know the tool. Although I wonder actually if we could go. The other option would be we put a pencil beside this. So if we click on modify the course in the menu of the course of the lesson. If we click modify the lesson on the lesson itself, then it would bring us here, and then we would have a pencil next to this title and a pencil next to the learner, and that would permit us to edit it if we want to. But if we don't want to, we can just edit the metadata, which would, for me, make a lot more sense. You don't want to go back through the wizard. The concept of this is like a wizard. If you're old enough to remember installing software from a CD or whatever, a floppy disk, then a lot of them had an installation wizard or an advanced installation. The installation wizard would be like, where do you want this software to go? Do you want it to have this feature? And page by page, it would just ask you what you want and then do a custom installation based on that. So that was kind of the idea here. I don't think they should go back through the wizard every single time. I think they should come back here when they want to modify it. And then if they want, they can modify the title or the learner, and that brings them back to that step. All of that to say, that is more information for me to wonder, should this be a page in and of itself with like pagination, or should it be a component? I feel like it makes sense that this is a component, because you could potentially modify, say you've just copied the course, for example, you could potentially go straight to modify because you want to change the name because it contains the name of another learner, or it contains a date that's wrong, or you realize that you missed somebody in the assignment, so you want to assign it to the other person. So I think this will be a lesson page, and within the lesson page, these different steps will be a visual component. I feel like that's the right way to go. So that's a lot of talking, and that's the wrong app. Let's get out of that one and into this one. All right. Let us do it. So we're going to create a new sheet called lesson. And this is going to contain all of our lesson stuff, including the lesson page. So I'm making that knowing that it's now going to be learnbook.com or whatever, learnbook.fr/lesson / the code of the lesson. So whatever the unique ID is of the lesson. In question mark section equals, etc. Maybe question and message equals object ID, and so I can reference, if somebody refreshes the page, they're going to get back to the very specific section they were looking at. That's the objective with having this as a page, is like if you refresh it, it's going to get you back to where you were before. And it being a page, it's kind of more isolated, a bit more containerized than just leaving it somewhere else. So this is going to go into the default app page router. Normally it gets added by default. So these are the pages that router can navigate to. The router kind of is like the parent group of all of these different pages that can appear inside the parent group. So it's on the app level. So on the app level, I'm not going to see Hello World. Eventually, I'm going to see my dashboard. It will be the first page in the page router that it loads up. Right now, I want to see the lesson page, which is completely empty. So this is also where you would see if there was any kind of, you could change the start page. Like if I make this and I'm like, oh, actually that's the start page I want. Here I've got start page, but actually I want dashboard. So I can make the dashboard the start page, and the start page is just, I'm going to remove that because it's not important. We can delete that as well. From our project, it's just the default start page. So the router goes dashboard. If they're not logged in, we're going to redirect them to login. And if they're on their dashboard and they click a lesson, we're going to redirect them to lesson. So that's the sort of the whole page will change. At which point we can argue, okay, well then should we do this header? Should that header be at the app level, as the header appears to appear everywhere? It seems to be in like creating sections, giving homeworks everywhere. So perhaps the header component should actually be up at the app level, top above the page router. And the page router is going to route us to these different sort of subparts to the header. So let's make a visual component there. At the app level, global visual components, visual component, header, top bar. So this is going to be a fixed width content height group. It's going to be fixed position, isn't that right? Fixed is the one that floats, I hope. It's probably going to be horizontal. It's probably going to be transparent because it appears that although this is white at the top, this one is transparent because look, it's got the orange behind it. So this page router, we actually want to come up the whole way behind our header. And this group, we actually wanted to kind of have a bit of padding at the top, so with a bit of white at the top, so that, and then put these groups side by side so that we get this white background that looks like the header's white, but it's actually the white background of the page. Let's get into Figma and check it out. So it also has a little shadow, doesn't it? No, it doesn't have a shadow. That's the progress bar. That'll be fun to create. Never done that before. I'm sure I need some CSS for it and I'm going to cry, but that's okay. It's okay to cry, especially when you're developing and using CSS. So I do think there's a no, it's just a border. Just a border. Where is it? Header, rectangle, background. Oh, there's a shadow. Okay, but it looks like a border. I guess. All right, well, we can copy this 1 pixel bottom shadow. Fine. 1 pixel, what is that? Like Y offset 1 or something like that? I'm not very good with CSS. But I don't care. Yeah, so we'll put a shadow. Shadow 0, 1, 0. Oops, that's a bit more than 0. And then this is gonna be 0, 1, 0, 0, and 0. It's black at 15%. Black 15%. Boom. And then yeah, that seems about right. We're going to give it a min height because then I will be able to see it while we're working on it. So we'll give it a min height of 80 pixels. No, give it a min height of what it is. Oh, it is 80 pixels. It's like respect the designer's work. Respect the designer. Header, top bar, page router. Yep. So it's really weird because the page router should be like, when I first saw it, I was thinking it's a device. It's not a visual thing, but it's just a container. It's the container for whatever is inside it. It's going to be the group that contains it. So that's how I do kind of understand it. So you can see now we have our router, which takes up the whole page, because the top bar header the top bar header is fixed position. So if I scroll, eventually we're going to see that. I'm in a lesson. Let's do an experiment. So if we make the lesson page background, is there a background? No. Let's go to group. If we make the group background gray, then yeah, so you can see that the whole thing is gray, and that means that our header is in the right place because it's floating on top of the gray background. So when the background is orange, it's going to go through. When we add some padding at the top, it's not going to come through. So that's good. Padding at the top, margin at the top is going to be 80. This is for our lesson group, because we want to have 2 groups. No, we don't. We want to have a group and a page router. Ooh, adding a page router because I said that I'm going to have a left and right, and that this right bit is going to be a router. It's going to go between the create page. Is that right? Am I doing something crazy? Maybe. Between the create page and the view page. Is that right? So between this bit, which is the creation bit on the right, and this bit, or should it be a component stack? Page router, component stack. I guess page router would be if I wanted to have like, yeah, a page router means if somebody refreshes the page and they're in the middle of creating a course, they don't lose what they've done. So there's an argument that if you get here and you've done all those 4 steps before, and then something goes wrong and your computer crashes and you open it up again at the same link that you were before, open, close tab, then it would open to you probably somewhere around about the same page. It would be on the create page with the object ID associated with it being being the object ID of the lesson you were creating, so it would save it in its memory. Whereas if I have it in a component stack, the component stack doesn't change the URL, so I'll pop things in and out of the component stack, and that will, when you refresh the page, just bring you back to the lesson page. So there's an argument for that being at least having the create and the view things as pages. And then within that, possibly having the steps as URL parameters, so that you can get right back to where you were when you were editing, which I think would be a pretty cool feature. So maybe let's do a page router and just see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? So we need our kind of like main container. We need our left menu. God knows how this is going to be responsively. I have no idea. Probably the left menu will have to collapse, go somewhere else. I haven't really figured that out yet. And this is going to be the create and view pages. And we're going to call this router lesson create and view. It's going to have, I'm not going to put a URL path yet. Wait and see. But now we have a name. So when we create sub pages, lesson, and we're going to create a page called create lesson. And the router we're going to use is the lesson create and view router. And then we're going to do view lesson. I think there's a way that we can do this where we hide. Oh, why is that not working anymore? I think we can do this in a way where we can hide the path so it doesn't say /view lesson, I think, but we'll see. But then if it does that, then you can't refresh the page. I know that Noodle are also, at the time of recording this video, working on systems to improve the page router, because at the moment the page router doesn't behave as expected when you're refreshing. It doesn't take you to the page that you think it's going to take you to. And I think they're pushing a fix for that pretty soon, but not today. So we'll not test it 100% today, but it will work. Then we have page inputs, which means we can put in path parameters, query parameters. So that helps us when talking about, create lesson or view lesson, and refreshing and going to the same lesson again. So we'll see. This will be an experiment. Could also make it that there's the component stack and it pops in and out, and we have something in the URL that says create equals true, or view equals true, view only equals true, or something like that. But I mean, again, that could be more dangerous for potential hacking, like people changing the URL parameters to get to where they want to go. Anyway, we'll see. I'm thinking too much about it. Just do it. We'll do our pencil sketch and we'll work it out later. So this is going to be horizontal. So we've got our left menu, we've got our page router. The left menu has got to be at least, I don't know, let's give it a min width just so we can see it. So it's horizontal, yes. Oh, because there's no pages in our page router. Okay, create lesson, no. So view lesson is going to be the start page. Like if you load this up, it's going to go to create lesson first. And if we load it up and it's create lesson, okay, got it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, view lesson. We need a group in here so we can have a look at it. So view lesson is going to be red, and left menu is going to be like blue or something. It is actually blue, so oh, it's gray already. Right, well, make it dark. So I'm not seeing it. That's great. Then we can refresh and have a look and see what it does. Nothing yet because my editor's broken. Wonderful. Just Quit, go back in. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. So got our left menu, which appears to be flat. What have I done? Give it oh no, I gave it a min width. Oops. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. That's what I wanted to do, min width. So min width, and we make it fixed explicit width and content height, explicit height, content width. Aha! Here we go. Getting somewhere. And this one is red. So this needs to be 100% vertical height. There we go. So why is that one going all the way up? It's a bit funny. Shouldn't do that because we have a oh, we don't have padding. Where did I put the padding? Main page container. Didn't I have a group where I put padding on it? Am I going crazy? Anyway. Oh, there it was. Okay, oops. It was just the left menu I put padding on. My bad. So the whole container needs to have that 80 padding at the top. Else it doesn't work. Oops. Okay, there we go. We have two groups. Wonderful. You can see the page router is just represented as a group on the page. So that's kind of how that works, sort of. What's next? Step 1. So, oh, I want this. Look at this pretty background. I want it. Give me that Figma. Export. Is that gonna work? Yeah, look at that. But I don't want that. I don't want the text. How do we get it away? Can I hide this? I don't know how to hide things. I'll just put it in like this for now. It's fine. Is it? Can we just do something really silly? We'll just put a block over the top of it. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Line there. Go away border. Oops. Huh? Nice. Okay. I'm going to take this and put it in my project folder. What I should really do is put these in like a assets folder. Another thing I learned the other day is that anything that's in Noodle in the folders here becomes folders in the hosted version when you deploy to the Noodle cloud or when you're self-hosting. So all of these images can go into assets, and we can even call that images and put all these images in here. And then that becomes a path. So assets, images. Be really careful with capitals. I got messed up in a project there recently because I put a capital letter on images, for example, and forgot in the app, and I put a small letter on images in the app, and the local version didn't really care and just let me do it. And the deployed web version did care. And it was like, I can't find these images because on the absolute path we had a capital letter and it's case sensitive. So just put everything in small letters when you're here. And in the images, I would recommend also not doing any kind of parentheses because parse doesn't seem to like parentheses. So just really basic, Roman letters or whatever you call them, and dashes and stuff like that is fine, but nothing more than that. So where is our menu? Put in an image. And source is, there we go. So we still have all the images. See, assets/images becomes a folder. I mean, I could also organize the images into different folders, and that would help to be able to distinguish them. So there we go. Nice. Very pretty. At the moment, it's not working very well because we need to give it a max width. What is this width? So this width is 400 pixels, and this width is 1200. So again, we're on the my maths. We're on the 1/4, 3/4 rule. So let's try that. We'll say that this block here is going to be maximum width 25%. There we go. And then the image, I guess, is just going to kind of fill out the screen however best it can. Yeah, so give it the 100%, or say it's going to be fixed. No, we have to give it 100, and then tell it to cover. Yeah, so it doesn't look great, but when we're at like a bigger screen width, it's going to look nice. So it's something. We can make this not dark anymore. It's fine. Make that transparent. Just reset to the default. And we can make the page router lesson creation page not red. And we're going to make it, where are we? This is what we want. So I want to make this little bar at the top, little progression bar. I think that's pretty cool. And if we can figure out a way to do that, I'll be very happy. I haven't done that before. You want to do the title, the subtitle, and then these little boxes here, which we'll probably again do with a repeater and some JSON, because that's a nice way to create groups. So let's go into our create lesson page. Is that the page we're currently on? No, we're on view lesson. So just for testing, I'm going to put the create lesson page as the start page, because I can't get there at the moment in the page router unless I create a button that takes me there. So I'll just do that for the moment. So if I refresh, then I should be already there. Create lesson. So let's put a group in there. And 2 texts, so header text and subtext. Okay, it's in, but yeah, the page is at the top, so that's not cool. Oh no, it's not. Okay, we're scrolling. Is that good? Because then the background of the header actually starts to matter, because this is going to creep into it. So that's not good. And actually, that's probably a bad design decision. Actually here, if I'm scrolling down, I want this header to become white. I don't want it to maintain, its transparency and then end up with all of these bits of text behind the logo and stuff like that. So that's not going to work out. Or like if I scroll this down here, I don't want the guy's image or like your profile image and all that stuff to go behind the these little bits here. So does that mean that the header is fixed on the screen? No, the header would scroll with that screen as well. So it should be transparent, but sometimes it should be orange. No, that's a question for the designer. Let's make it white for now, because it's going to make my head hurt. So we're going to make the header white for now. Global visuals, header, group. It's going to be white. Oh, no, not that one. White. Okay, so we scroll. Still not doing anything. Still not covering. Is that because the Z index needs to be the highest? Maybe. Yes. So yeah, you actually get control over the Z index in Noodle, which was just, I was so happy when I saw that, compared to what I was doing in Bubble before. We have to kind of like add the groups on top of each other and make sure they're in the right order. So that's cool. So just, you have to be careful. I guess this could be arguably it should be 999, because you don't want to ever make a mistake and accidentally have an element that you could be playing with the Z index of an element in the create part and end up putting it at 4, and then just because it's got other elements in front of it, and then one day when you scroll down, you suddenly realize that that actually goes on top of your header bar because your header bar had a Z index of 3, and you just didn't think that you would ever have an element that needs to go higher than that. So give it 999 because we know the header is always above everything except pop-ups. We'll have a look. And when we do a pop-up, the header might still appear, and then we need to make the pop-up needs to be 999 and the header 999, something like that. I don't know. Or maybe we're just being silly and we should actually do the real numbers and just adjust it. Who knows? Who knows? Discussion for another time. So let's get back here. I like that design thing. Click in design to get back where you were really quickly. Love it. I love it. I'm in the header. I'm in the left menu. I'm in the design. Nice. Okay. So this is the main container. Now we're probably going to do away with this in a little bit and probably end up putting, definitely end up putting a component stack here, because the component stack needs to be there to pop in and out these different elements like this one. So yeah, arguably let's go start the way we mean to continue, and we'll make down here a visual component called step 1. Create. We'll rename them later. So take our main container and put it in here. Delete the existing group, put it in. Okie dokie. And then create lesson component stack. We're going to add step 1. Create. I'm just trying to remind myself what steps there are here as well, by the way. So we're going to call this create lesson flow. We are going to have the start page of that. We are going to clip content. I don't really know what it means, so I'm not going to worry about that. And that's it. And so we need the component to be the step 1 create. And that's the default component. So in theory, when I reload this, then that's the first component in the component stack. Nice. Okay, and so we're doing, what was it, header, title text, subtitle text. Title text is lost. Title text is create a lesson. How would you like to create your lesson? Nice text. Keep it for now. Create a lesson. So arguably again, this needs to have, we need to think about in the different steps of this. At one point, we're going to have to think about, okay, sometimes it will be create a lesson, sometimes it will be edit a lesson. So we'll need to do that with states nodes. It doesn't need that here, I don't think, because by the time we get here, this is where you would go back to if you wanted to change the name and edit it. I don't think you're going to go back to here. This is just the first page of the wizard that you would not need if you're editing a lesson, only if you're creating a lesson. So we can say that we don't need that here, but we will need states somewhere else, a create state and an edit state that lets us change the title text depending on what state we're in. I said it was, how would you like to create your course? Would you like to create your lesson? And then we have a repeater. And in the repeater, there will be an item called create type selector. Don't know why I'm using dashes all of a sudden. I think because create lesson had a dash. I'm being infected by the dash disease. Fair enough. It's going to have a background that is orange, or LearnBook orange, with what is it? LearnBook orange. No, it's not LearnBook orange. Okay, it's a slightly different color. Fine. Okay, then we're going to add that color, aren't we? I'm going to call it orange background. orange element background, something like that. Okay. This is the create type selector group. Weird names. We need a nice big icon. The icon type is going to depend on which, it's going to depend on the object, isn't it? So we're going to have to feed an icon into here. Oh no, I'm going to go find the icon selector function that I used in the other projects I did, and I'll show you that. Don't panic. So the icon needs to be that nice dark brown thing from the title colors, and it needs to be 40 by 40. And nice dark brown, header brown. And then we need a title text, subtitle text, and a button. Oops. Title string, what am I doing? Title text, subtitle text, button. Okay, button text and subtitle text and everything is going to depend on the, so we're going to have title text, we're going to have subtitle is all one word, text, and button text, could be button label, whatever, icon. Okay, and then these things are going to be connected up here, like title text is going to title text, subtitle text is going to subtitle text, and button text is going to button label. For different colors, that's all good. It's just the icon that needs to change in the text. The icon, we're going to get it from another project. I can actually import from other projects. I've never tried that before. How do we do that? Okay. This is pretty cool. Never tried this before. Can I search? No, I can't search. I would have liked the icon. Was it the button something button that had the icons? No. Menu item. Bingo. How do I import it? I have to go all the way to the bottom, please. It's a bit silly. Choose which color styles want to be imported over in your current color styles. Warning, this operation cannot be undone. No. Okay, where is it? What was it that I just did? I imported the menu item. Menu item. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Menu item router. Icon object, bingo. Here is the code. So we need to take the name of the material icon that we want to use in Google Material Icons, like the actual code name, not the pretty name. And then we need to create a class, create an object, sorry, with the class materials icon in this code. So there we go. Take that. You can just leave that. Where did that go with that menu item thing? Oh, there. Dashboard reusables menu. Okay, so it actually imported the folder that I had it in. I had my menu item in a thing called dashboard reusables, and it actually put it in the sheet dashboard, which I actually have in the other app called dashboard as well. That's really funny. That's really funny. Okay, well, anyway, we can delete that now. Okay, and we will keep dashboard reusables for the moment. That's fine. Whatever. Create type selector. Okay, so when the name of the icon, when the name of the icon comes in, we pass it through a function that's going to create an icon object. So it's got an input icon name, so we need to give the icon name like OK dash symbol or something like that. And then it's class materials icon that's already done for us. And the output of that can be connected, icon object can be connected to icon source, which you can't do otherwise. Yet, maybe one day we will, but at the moment not. In the end, it's not a bad practice to get into, because if you download your own custom icons, you will have to probably do the same thing as well. You should name the class of icons and give it the code, whatever the icon code is. So icon name goes in here, and then it will just automatically pump out the object. Nice. All right. So we've got our, no, we haven't. We've got our step 1 create type selector, and we need now a static array. And the static array has a nice pretty JSON, 2 objects with title text, subtitle, no, it was one word, subtitle text, get your capitals right, button text, icon. I never appreciated how much camel case and snake case and all this stuff is really important for developers. I was kind of thinking, yeah, it looks like a bit of a pain when, Bubble lets you save the names of these things in fixed states, option sets and whatever. So I'm not going to worry about them. I'm just going to do them once, and I'm going to click dynamic statement, pull out the option set, or pull out the state from this object or whatever. And I don't need to think about the text and the case and all that stuff. And then doing it yourself, you actually feel like this is good, because it develops a habit within me that now whenever I type anything in a JSON, I always do it with this, it's a snake case, where it's got this little hump. The first letter's small and the second letter's big. So it does develop really good habits, and it means that no matter where you type text, it always will be the same and understandable, and you can kind of guess what you typed. If you're like, yeah, it was subtitle text, so I'm sure I typed it in that snake case format. Anyway, so that's cool, is what I'm saying. Awesome. And comma and comma and oh dang, comma and comma, not comma, comma, not comma. So start a new, let's say start from scratch. I like that. Create a new course from a blank. Create a new lesson. Create a new lesson from. Create it as a. No, it doesn't really work. Let's say a new lesson. Create a new lesson, create a blank lesson, and start from scratch. Create an empty lesson. Button text is let's go. Icon is pen. Edit square. So edit space square will not work. We need to go and have a look at the icon insertion code thing that says edit underscore square. That's what we're looking for, not edit space square. So edit underscore square. And this one is, the next one we need is this copy one. So, oops, I know I'm getting very dizzy now. Copy, content copy. And it is content underscore copy. Title text is copy an existing lesson. Start from an existing lesson from your models or your training organization's models. Start from an existing lesson in your library or your training organization's library. And it's nice to remind them here and there that they'll be like, oh, my training organization's library, what does that mean? Like I said at the beginning, we're trying to push them towards talking to their boss about it in their training organization and getting them to sign a contract to let us train their staff and install the software and get the admin panel set up and everything. So if they see mentions of your training organization, even if they haven't thought about that yet, they might be like, oh, I didn't know that there was a training organization option, and that might help them to think about it a bit more. Oh, we forgot about our columns. So it's not going to work in a repeater. It's going to be a vertical repeater unless we have columns. So we need a 1-1 column relationship with a horizontal gap of 30 wonderful pixels. And then the group itself needs to be constrained. It's got a content height and a max width of 325. Let's call it content height, max width 325. And then it'll fit on a mobile screen as well, which will be nice. Hook it up. I love hooking things up in Noodle. Oh god, that's bad. That's not good. You know why? Because we didn't tell the object to get its data from the repeater. Ta-da! And this is up. Why is that so high up? Because the main container is really high up. Why is the main container high up? Oh, because we scrolled. Oops. Beautiful. That's exactly what I was going for. Oops. So this needs to be title large. This needs to be body. It's fine. This needs to be title text is sort of subtitle sized. Title medium, brown. Is the other text brown as well? Are they all brown, these texts? Yes, they are all brown, these texts. The body text is actually brown. Do I like that? I don't know. Think about it. Yeah, well, let's have a look at that. Body medium. Make it brown. Why not? I guess. Oh, I can't. Okay. Doesn't matter. Do it later. Okay. And the button needs to be the LearnBook button. No icon. It's going to be centered. All of this is going to be centered. Sorry. So remove that. Center everything. This needs to be content width. No, it doesn't. This needs to be text height and width. And then center the text itself. And then this is the same, and it needs to center the text itself. And then the button needs to center itself. Because why not? I don't know what the problem is with that. And then we need some gaps. So between the icon and this is 30, 10, and 30. So the group itself has a vertical gap of 30. These texts are going to go into their own group that's going to have a vertical gap of 10. Sorted. It's going to have padding at the top of 30, padding at the bottom of 30, and padding at the sides of probably 30. Will that work on mobile? Probably not, but we'll figure that out later. That looks much better. Closer to what we want. Too tight, and then if we stretch it out, it's not centered. So this part, columns, needs to be in a group. Does it? No, it doesn't. We need this to have a max width. At the moment we're at something like 1200, so yeah, I could have a max width of 1200, that's fine. Max width 1200, just for that internal group, not let it go too wide. Want to have a little bit of padding. Let's give it a little percentage padding so that it looks nice. So let's say, like, I don't know, 2% padding, 2%. Doesn't never accept the percentages when I type them in. There. It's like you have to type the 2 first and then come back to it and do it again. It's really annoying. Anyway, there we go. A little bit of padding. Should be a little bit of padding at the top. 20 pixels. The actual text themselves need a bit of padding, 20 and 30. So we can do 20. And then we'll add a little extra padding on this guy here to make that up to 30. A little, sorry, margin on that guy. Then we need this to be of a minimum width so that it'll collapse on top of each other. So the minimum column width is going to be 300. That puts them on top of each other. And then the column alignment is going to be centered. Nice. Oh yeah. That's nice. Why is that so big at the right side there? Oh, because the columns are overflowing for some reason. That's something to work out with the Noodle team. Because my group is fine, this is overflowing. If I group it up, do I just have to group it? Is that all I have to do? No, it still overflows, so that's fine. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Okay. Anyway, looking not bad, looking kind of cool. I guess a bit long here, but how did you deal with it? Yeah, this text is a bit longer, so it's not so good. At a certain point that starts looking a bit weird. Maybe just make that min width a bit higher, 320. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Oh, rounded corners. Don't forget your rounded corners. 6. Okay. Kicking butt. Oh, top bar. I want to do the top bar and then we're out of here. Top bar. What the heck is that top bar going to be? I know what it's going to be. Yeah, it's going. So we need a top bar that has a gray background and an orange background. The orange goes further right the more that you progress along the chain of different elements. So in theory, if this is always number 1, then you put a little bar at the top and you just make the bar yourself. And then every screen will have its own bar, and the bar is bigger on every sub-screen. On the new course screen, it's a bit bigger. Nice, nice, nice. Let's do that. So at the topic here, we gotta have main container. Okay, so group. Yeah. Did I put that the main container has a max width? Because that won't work. We need it to stretch across the whole screen even if it gets bigger. So I actually need this to be a subgroup of this one. Okay, that's probably messed it all up, but it means that my main container can have that. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to give it a fixed height. No, fixed height, which is going to be 6. Teensy tiny. And the background is going to be gray. be gray. Yeah. Let's just make it one of the grays we already have. What's that? E9. Sounds about right. It's F. Is that darker? Yeah. It's darker. Well, let's leave it. No. Make it 400. Yep. All right. And it's going to stretch across the whole screen. Oh, it's too dark. 300 was probably right. Yeah. And then it's going to have a little orange counterpart. And that's going to be in a group as well. This is begging to be put into a reusable element, isn't it? It just needs to be in a reusable element. So this one is going to be width. No, percentage. So we're actually going to put a percentage in there, like 20%. And we're going to put a percentage in here, like 80%. And then this one is going to have the famous LearnBook orange. And there it is. Step 1. Nice. So yeah, this is the percentage progress container. This is the progress bar. This is the progress background. So how do you do this? How do you make this into a visual element? Let's do it. I'm going to put it into global visual components because I like it. I like to think that that is going to be coherent across the whole app. If I see something with progress, it's going to be that. If there's a wizard somewhere, it's always going to be that. So we're going to make that the, not a page. Going to make that the progress bar component. Yeah. Going to take this out. Put it in here. We're going to have a component input. And sorry, this is really small. Why am I making you watch such a small screen? It's downright wrong. It's going to have percentage number, just to remind myself that it's a number. And the percentage number is going to go through an expression. And the expression is going to say percentage number, so 100 minus percentage number. So that goes here. So the percentage number is this, 25%, for example, and that goes in layout, dimensions, width, boom. I think this will work. I hope it works. If it doesn't work, I'll make it work. This is going to be width. Where did I go? Okay. So take all this out, get my percentage bar, progress bar, put it in here, and then define 25. What? Oh no, what have I done? 25 unit percentage is fixed false. Yeah, because it's connected to width. Oops. Yeah, because it's giving me the, yeah, should I do it automatically or should I let the, I don't know. Oh, you know what? Let's tackle this. Let's tackle this sucker. It's going to be, so we have an input called percentage number. We want to take the first value in there called value. And that's what we want to use. Will this work? Maybe. Yeah. So you, in the notation of the expression node, with certain things, if there's an input coming in, it's either an array, in which case you can use this notation and say like, I want the first item in the array, which is the 0 item, or I want the second item, which is item 1 in the array. If that makes sense. It always starts with 0, so 0 is the first array item. Dot, and then whatever the field is you want to extract, and that'll let you pull out that field as the result. It's super cool. That's super powerful. So it's 100 minus the incoming object that's been created by Noodle, the value field of that object percentage number. So I'll pull that out. Still not working, but that's okay. Yay, now it's working. So 25% and 75. Very good. I mean, arguably we should probably put that in an object, but because I've already selected that the width is a percentage, we don't need to change it. But this is a question I had for somebody a while ago, was what happens if sometimes I want a percent and sometimes I want pixels? So either you connect it up directly from the input to the width or height parameter, and then it lets you from the outside select the percentage, and if it's fixed, so you get those values because Noodle recognizes that you're connecting up to a dimension. Or like here, if I wanted to make this into an object, I would say, oh God, I would say ask Noodle AI, because I'm scared to do it by myself and make a mistake. So make an object called percentage number with fields value, unit, and is fixed. Value, unit, and is fixed. Come on, ChatGPT. Takes input value, input unit, and input is fixed. Nice. So I could take this and use it in other places, because I have had that before where I needed to change from percentage to pixels depending on what the state was. So it's very nice, very nice. Yeah, so this is it does ChatGPT obviously does very clean code as well. So this code is, even though I'm not planning on changing units, it's put it in there, and it says that by default it's going to be percentage unless I input a unit. So either it's unit or it's a percentage, either it's a value or it's 0, either it is fixed or it's false. So it's true, I want it to be is fixed is false on the inbound there. So that's good. Yes, that's good. So do that. It's just, it makes no difference, but it's just cleaner doing it this way. So I really want to show the clean way of doing it. Yeah, so yep. So the resulting number is the value, the unit we're not changing, and is fixed we're not changing. So it outputs percentage number, 75% and false. So that goes into, that goes into width. So the width object and the height of the width of the progress bar and the width of this bar now have the same format of object, and that makes me happier, because I don't like things being, and arguably we can take this expression note away. If we want to make this canvas clean as well as making our code clean, then we should say value equals 100 minus input value, or 0. And then we give it the input value of percentage number, and then it will do 0, because I made a mistake today. Value 25. No, of course, because it's not the value, it's percentage number object dot value. Silly. So extracted value equals inputs value. So const input value equals inputs value, and then here we're going to say 100 minus input value dot value. So we take the value parameter out of the input value object that we just created there. Yeah, nice. Refresh me sure that works. So nice. Okay, getting too excited. So I think that is good for today. I did my progress bar, I did my left menu, I did my whole thing. I haven't done my header yet, but I've got buttons for creating a new lesson. So next time we're going to go ahead with the forums to create lessons and maybe do some funky things with forums and JSONs and really push the limits of what I'm comfortable with, because these are not things I'm comfortable with, but let's see how it goes. But it's looking good. I'm kind of happy with that. It's not pretty on that part, but we'll fix that later. Here it's pretty. On mobile it's going to look good. So that's nice. And our progress bar is ready to go. We can enter the percentage number 50 or 40 or whatever, and it's going to increase and look very cool. And it's reusable, so we're definitely on the right path there. Alrighty, thanks a lot for watching, and hope you enjoyed it, and see you guys next time.